Welcome to another Cardano update. Like always, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. And in this Cardano video, I actually want to talk about Bitcoin. Now, of course, I'm going to talk about Cardano as well. But first, I want to look at the Bitcoin chart. And why do I want to do that? Well, because Bitcoin right now, it's going sideways and people are just complaining about this, even though in a couple of cycles before this cycle, the exact same thing happened. And I don't really know why people are complaining. So right now we have been going sideways for about, let's see, about 2 months. And here we also went sideways for about 6 months. And I think this is actually very normal, and this always happens in a bull market. And let me show you a couple of examples. For example, in 2021, here we went sideways for about 4 months, and of course people were complaining, but I mean, this was normal. And then after that we went up again, and then we went sideways again. Now this is the top, so we're not going to count it. Let's just take a look at what happened, when we were going up. Now the 2021 cycle is not really similar to this cycle, because in 2021 we just went up in a straight line, so there are not that many examples. However, there are still a couple of examples. For example, here, I mean, we have like 4 weeks right here, and during this time, I mean 5 weeks actually, and during this time we went sideways for about a month. So yeah, keep that in mind. Here as well, I mean, here we went sideways for about, let's see, about 3 months, and here as well, and I mean here as well. Now I want to look at the 2017 cycle because it's a lot more similar to this cycle, and let me show you some examples. I mean, here, let's start from the bear market low. After the bear market low, we went sideways for about 8 months. Well, actually 11 months. Then we went up, and then we went sideways again for how many months? For about 6 months. Then we went up again, and what happened after that? We went sideways again for about 6 months. Then we went up again, we went down, and then we went sideways for a couple of months. And look at this, when the bull market really started, yes, we were going up multiple weeks in a row, but then after that we still went sideways for a couple of weeks. Then we went up again, and we went sideways again. So yeah, this is normal. Now, of course, in this cycle we are going sideways for much longer, and of course we are not going sideways for a couple of weeks, we're actually going sideways for months. But I don't know why people are forgetting about the fact that Bitcoin in the previous year actually broke its all-time high way before it did in the previous 2 cycles. So people are pretty much complaining for no reason. Bitcoin is at like $100,000 and the Fear and Greed Index is at like 44. Everybody is fearful, even though there's no reason to be fearful. Now I want to continue with Bitcoin because I want to look at what's happening on the weekly chart, and I think that we will actually test the bull market support band very, very soon. And I think we will hit about $88,000 first before we continue with the move to the upside, and let me explain why. So we are pretty much going to have a cross on the bull market support band. It's not a question anymore. I mean, it's almost there, and I think it's going to happen next week or so. And usually when this happens, after this happens, we get a correction. Now, why am I talking about Bitcoin before I continue with this? And why am I not talking about Cardano in a Cardano video? Well, because whatever Bitcoin does, I mean, Cardano will follow. So I think it's only fair that we talk about Bitcoin instead of Cardano, because Cardano is not doing anything. So yeah, make sure to, watch until the end, because what I'm about to say is very, very important. So I think we are about to test the bull market support band very, very soon, and I want to show you why. So for this, I wanted to look at the 2017 cycle. In 2017, we actually tested the bull market support band like a million times, and during this time, for example here, we tested the bull market support band, we got below it, we actually had a cross, and then after that, we still went up. So these crosses, at least on the Bitcoin chart, they are not really that bearish. However, as you can see, when the green line of the bull market support band gets around the red line, we usually get another drop before we actually continue with the pump to the upside. And let me show you a couple of other examples. Here we also tested the bull market support band. Here we tested it again, and then we went up again, and we tested it again. So as you can see, Bitcoin likes to test the bull market support band many, many times. Here we tested it again. So yeah, it's normal, and I would not be surprised if Bitcoin actually dropped to about $88,000 before we continued. Now, if that happens, and if we get a drop like that, it is possible for Cardano to drop even more, and it is possible to get below 50 cents, which is this low low right here. Now, like I said many times, I mean, right now we are pretty much oversold on the daily chart, so it cannot really go down much lower. However, I mean, this is really good because even if we get to like the 0.618 support level again and we get like a double bottom, that would still be bullish because the RSI would drop even more. And you know what this means? I mean, if the RSI drops on the daily and if we are already oversold, imagine how much it will drop right here and imagine how lower it will go. And it has not been this low since we hit the bear market lows right here. So if it does something like this, it would look like a bear market low, but we will only be at like 50 cents. And then after that, I think it's gonna be the perfect time to start a third wave of the third wave. Now, Bitcoin dominance is still going sideways right now, and I've been talking about this for a long time now. And like I said, it is possible that it goes sideways or even up in the next couple of weeks. Maybe we're actually getting to 66% to get to the 0.786 resistance level before we actually drop, because we are still in QT, we are not in QE, and like I said, the next Fed meeting is in March in about, let's say, 6 weeks. And I mean, it could be the case that Cardano just continues dropping until then and Bitcoin dominance continues going up. And if we get that drop on the Bitcoin chart and if we get to about $88,000 to test the bull market support band like we did in 2017, it's likely that the altcoins will take a major hit and during that time Bitcoin dominance will go higher. However, you have to keep in mind, even if that happens, the altcoins will most likely respect the support levels. Like I said, at least Cardano, it's still in an uptrend. It has been in an uptrend since June of 2023, and the structure that we are in right now still looks very similar to the structure that we were in the previous cycle. And here we tested this trend line 4 times, and right now we're about to test it again. We actually have already tested it 4 times, and here in the previous cycle, after testing it for the 4th time, we actually went above it and we finally broke out. Now keep in mind, from an Elliott wave point of view, we are already over here and we are not actually, down here. However, from a structure point of view, we are still down here. And I mean, yeah, it's very interesting to see what will happen next. I don't know if we will get another low or not because we are already oversold on the daily, but I'm not going to, take it out of the question because it could always happen. But like I said, we reacted to the golden ratio level, so if we somehow drop to like 50 cents again, it's likely that we get a double bottom, and this would be normal. I mean, we got something like this over here before we actually started another move to the upside. We actually went sideways for some time, and actually in the previous cycle the exact same thing happened. Like I said, from a structure point of view, we are currently right here, and here, as you can see, we were below the bull market support band just like we are in right now. Here we had a drop and then we had a cross on the bull market support band just like we're about to get right now, and look at what happened after that. We went sideways, and yeah, until we got above the bull market support band nothing really happened. But once we got above the bull market support band, we started testing the trend line again and we finally got back above it. Now from the 4-year cycle point of view, I mean, exactly 4 years ago we were already at like $1, right now we're not. But keep in mind, in the previous cycle we were in QE during this time and right now we are not. And also in the previous cycle when Cardano was doing this, Bitcoin was still going sideways. So this was actually something unexpected because Cardano was pretty much going up on its own. It was not really going up with the other altcoins. So maybe Cardano is just waiting for the good old altcoin season to start and it's not going to go up on its own in this cycle like it did in the previous cycle. I still think that's okay as long as we finish the main third wave before the end of May of 2025. So if we don't get to like new all-time highs by the end of May of 2025, then Cardano will most likely not do too well in this cycle. Keep in mind, in the previous couple of cycles, for example in the previous cycle, I mean right here the altcoin season started at the end of March, and in the cycle before that in 2017 it started at the end of February. So if we want to start an altcoin season right now, it would not be the perfect time, probably in like 20 days or so. I think that's when we should start, and if we don't start going down by the end of February, then I think it is very likely that we just wait for the Fed meeting and maybe we'll get some good news in March. And if we actually start QE in March, that could lead to a drop on the Bitcoin dominance chart, which would look very similar to the drop that we had in the previous cycle. So we'll see if that happens or not. Now keep in mind, in the previous cycle, before we actually had this huge drop in March, we still went down after we got this top. So if this top right here is, similar to this top right here, we should start going down and we should not get another cycle high. So we'll see what happens with this. Keep in mind we are overbought on the daily chart, on the Bitcoin dominance chart, and of course this does not really mean anything because we have been overbought multiple times. But even if we are, not at the cycle highs yet, I mean, even if we get another cycle high, it would not be the end of the world because some altcoins, I mean, most of the altcoins are still respecting support levels and they are oversold on the daily chart. If you look at the weekly chart, I mean, Cardano right now, it's not really overbought anymore, and I've talked about this structure multiple times. I think even the weekly RSI looks very similar to what we got in the previous cycle. Here in the previous cycle, we had this 1-2 setup. Right now we have this 1-2 setup, and this right here was a U structure. Right now we were in a U structure, and then, of course, if you ignore this move right here, we proceeded to go up after that. So we'll see if we actually copy the structure or not. I mean, so far we have been doing exactly that, so people are complaining for no reason. And if you bought at like 30 cents, you are still fine. If you bought at like $1.30, I mean, you are probably not fine, but as long as we don't come into the comments and complain about the fact that you bought the top right here and you FOMO'd in, then yeah, you should be fine. In the long term, I still think that the altcoin market will do very well in 2025, and there's no reason to doubt that, at least not right now. And like I said, until Ethereum goes up and until Bitcoin actually starts doing something, the altcoins will continue to suffer. But once Bitcoin actually starts doing something and once Ethereum finally wakes up, then I'm looking forward to seeing the best altcoin season so far. I think this will be the biggest yet because, I mean, if you look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, it is expected to drop like 24% from this high right here. In the previous cycle, it dropped, let's see, about 40%, well no, 31%. However, during this time, the Bitcoin market cap was much lower. Right now, we're at a much higher market cap, which means that if we drop on the Bitcoin dominance chart, the gains for the altcoin market will be even bigger than they were back here. Even though we will get a much smaller drop, it will still be much bigger because the market cap of Bitcoin is higher. So that's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, Cardano is still doing fine. Like, subscribe, check out the memberships, and I will see you in the next one.